It's dear to the heart of every player. A trophy to cherish, a prize to win. Many are those who will stand to be counted. Few are those with a real chance to win. In 1977, 28 teams will vie for professional sports' most coveted prize. But this is how it was 1 year ago, in our bicentennial season. Opening day in Oakland, California. Pro football's two superpowers renew their classic rivalry. Through 3 1/2 quarters, the world champion Steelers milked opportunity for 28 points and a commanding 2-touchdown advantage. But with time running out, Ken Stabler rallied the Raiders to a tie, setting up a game-winning field goal that left psychological scars on Pittsburgh for weeks to come. But if Pittsburgh and Oakland believed themselves to be alone atop the American Football Conference, they were mistaken. In '76, a team from New England arrived on the scene, its flags to autumn's breeze unfurled. Here boldly a second-year quarterback stood, then fired a shot heard round the world. In week 2, Miami fell to New England's finest Patriot, but the critics merely sighed. Let's see him beat the Steel Curtain next week. Then we'll be satisfied. And so in week 3, Steve Grogan passed the Steel Curtain ragged. But still the critics weren't impressed. Pittsburgh had an off day, they said. They didn't play their best. Let's see the kid beat Oakland. Now that will be the real test. With consecutive wins over Miami, Pittsburgh, and Oakland, Steve Grogan and the New England Patriots made believers of the critics, while taking a step up to join the AFC's elite. But even the Patriots couldn't win them all in the AFC. That distinction belonged to still another conference powerhouse. While New England was finding success in Steve Grogan's gutsy leadership, Baltimore was flying high on Burt Jones's brilliant right arm. Burt Jones and number 81, Roger Carr, collaborated on some of the year's prettiest scoring plays. Covering Roger Carr became the toughest assignment in football. and Burt Jones never hesitated to take advantage. Pro football's most explosive offense, and there was more. For Baltimore also owned a group of pass rushers known as the Sack Pack. 4 sturdy young men whose play was the determining factor in Baltimore's victory in New England. The Sack Pack and Mr. Jones. At mid-season, nobody in the AFC looked better. In the National Football Conference, divisional races are more predictable. Bud Grant's Vikings still own the Central Division, while Chuck Knox's Rams remain in the driver's seat out west. Only the names change from year to year. Last year, Minnesota unveiled first-year wide receiver Sammy White, whose 10 touchdowns earned him the nod as NFC Rookie of the Year. Not to be outdone, the Rams installed rookie Pat Hayden at quarterback, settling once and for all the Rams' annual game of musical chairs at that position. But despite offensive improvements, basically the Rams and Vikings are ball-controlled, defense-oriented football teams. In Week 2, they battled 5 full quarters but could not resolve a 10-10 tie, beating each other into oblivion in the process. But while the Vikes and Rams staggered home with a draw, another old contender was priming for a title fight. Down in Irving, Texas, Roger Staubach and the Cowboys were off to one of their finest starts ever. Staubach was hitting an amazing 75% of his passes, while Dallas's doomsday defense was at its brutal best, making a visit to Texas Stadium a real headache. By mid-season, Dallas was ensconced atop the Eastern Division. And so, attention turned to a Monday night monsoon in Washington. The St. Louis Cardinals were in town to battle the Redskins for second place, but George Allen's special teams stole the show. Number 25, Eddie Brown, hydroplaned 71 yards for the game-breaking score, as Washington kept pace with St. Louis for the NFC wildcard playoff berth. But in the NFC East, the handwriting was on the wall. In head-to-head divisional matchups, Roger Staubach hung the Redskins high, while doomsday hung both teams out to dry. And so, when undefeated Dallas met powerful Baltimore, many called the game a Super Bowl preview. It had all the makings of a good one. But while teams like Dallas and Baltimore occupy one end of the NFL spectrum, at the other end are the also-rans, teams for whom frustration is a constant companion. Consolation comes in digging a play out of a grade school playbook, then using it to upset a contender. But for most also-rans, the sad reality is that victory is the exception rather than the rule. But team failure does not tarnish brilliant individual accomplishments. Buffalo won only twice in '76, but the incomparable O.J. once again rewrote his record book, this time for most yards rushing in a single game. Young running backs like Chicago's Walter Payton headed a list of 12,000-yard rushes, most ever in a single season. 249 first-year players made NFL debuts, such as Clark Gaines of the New York Jets. But no first-year player had more immediate impact than number 40, Mike Haynes of New England. Haynes single-handedly broke the Jones to Carr connection in New England's November rematch with the Colts as the Patriots advanced to the playoffs. But November brought no playoff berths for the also-rans. For them, there is only the hollow memory of 1976's desperation and the undying hope that in 1977, they'll be able to get back on their feet. With the coming of winter, only one playoff spot in each conference remained. In the AFC, the crucial game matched Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, a chance for the Bengals to snap Pittsburgh's 6-game win streak and knock them out of the playoffs. But even in the white stuff, Pittsburgh's success formula remained the same. Opportunistic defense that stripped the Bengals of the football in a critical situation. Then, a league-leading ground attack that snowballed Pittsburgh into the lead. The Bengals tried to battle back, but a slippery carpet and a steel curtain wouldn't allow it. So once again, Pittsburgh would get a taste of the playoffs, while the Bengals would settle down for a long winter's nap. But down in the heat of Irving, Texas, a long winter's nap was precisely what the Washington Redskins were trying to avoid. In Dallas, fans are crazy about their football team, and with good reason. For by the season's final Sunday, Dallas had clinched its 10th playoff spot in 11 years. But Dallas fans show little love for the Cowboys' key Eastern Division rival. And so, into this friendly environment, the Redskins came needing a victory to make the playoffs. A loss, and the Cardinals would play instead.
Let's make them eat their words. Let's go. Be physical. Come on.
Despite their intensity, the Redskins fell behind. But George Allen's team knows when to reach back for that something extra.
No mistakes. Concentrate, concentrate. Dig it, Calvin, dig it, dig it.
Washington reached back and found victory. Dallas ate its words. For George Allen's proud old pros, time to celebrate a playoff berth.
For the Redskins. Hip, hip. Hey!
But making the playoffs and staying in them are different matters altogether. While the Redskins fell in the opening round of Minnesota, Dallas's pass pocket was dismantled by the Rams. as both Eastern Division teams were battered into submission. In the AFC, Burt Jones and company ran into a steel curtain. It was strictly no contest. While out in Oakland, despite ample incentive, the Raiders still needed a last-second touchdown to bring New England's Cinderella season to an end. Four teams left. For them, the season had just begun. Pittsburgh, back in form and riding a 10-game winning streak. Oakland, doing them one better with 11 straight wins. Los Angeles, 11 victories with a rookie quarterback at the helm. Minnesota, 12 wins with an old pro and his newest deep threat. But after the first round of the playoffs, only 3 teams could celebrate. For the fourth, victory had been costly.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Metropolitan Stadium in cold Bloomington, Minnesota, the National Football Conference Championship game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams slight underdogs against the Vikings on this cold, sunny afternoon. These two teams battle to a 10-10 tie during the regular season. The winner today goes on to the Super Bowl in Pasadena on January 9th.
On their opening drive, the Rams powered their way on the ground to the Viking 1-yard line. But the Rams went no further, and the stage was set for crucial play number 1.
Dempsey in to try for the field goal. This is a chip shot. There's a snap a bit high. The ball is down. The kick is blocked. Into the end. Touchdown. The Vikes are going to score. It's Bobby Bryant. At the 50, the 40, the 35 to 30, the 25 to 20 to 15 to 10 to 5. Touchdown on a blocked field goal. Nate Allen blocked it. Bobby Bryant scooped it up and goes the distance. Unbelievable.
Los Angeles fell behind by 17, but they never lost heart. The Rams pulled to within 4. Time for crucial play number 2.
He drops back to pass. He has protection. Throws a long one over the middle, intended for Clyde. Intercepted by Bobby Bryant. Bobby Bryant with his second interception of the game.
This time the Rams could not recover. For the Minnesota Vikings, victory earned them their 4th Super Bowl appearance in 8 years. Their opponent now would be decided in a gargantuan struggle taking shape in Oakland, California. But the long-awaited rematch was a lopsided affair. Oakland took an early lead, and with Franco Harris sidelined by injury, Terry Bradshaw was forced to play catch-up against unbeatable odds. After 9 years of disappointment, this time Oakland won the AFC title going away. On to Pasadena and Super Bowl 11. The Minnesota Vikings gave it their best shot, but with New England and Pittsburgh behind them, the Raiders were home free. Oakland dominated all facets of play, giving NFL 76 a Super Bowl masterpiece that was 9 long years in the making. And so, where 28 teams had set out in pursuit of Super Bowl silver, only one had returned with the prize. In 1977, the rest will challenge Oakland's reign. But NFL 76 belonged to the Raiders.
Stadium in Pasadena, California. It is Super Bowl 11. This is Bill King with a welcome. Everything in the United States, everything really in a sports sense in the world, is zeroed in, focused today here in the canyon at Arroyo Seco. This 11th Super Bowl will be viewed in 41 nations around the world.
Desde el Tazón de las Rosas en Pasadena, California, los Raiders de Oakland y Vikingos de Minnesota se enfrentan en el Super Tazón número 11.
Les Raiders d'Oakland, champions de la conférence américaine, et les Vikings du Minnesota, champions de la conférence nationale.
対戦いたしますのは AFC 代表 Oakland Raiders.
C'est la confrontation tant attendue entre Francis Tarkenton des Vikings et Ken Stabler des Raiders.
As my leader, Curtis Cowboy Gowdy out of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Jeff and Hazel's baby boy sit at the foot of the San Gabriel Mountains, rising a little over a mile, the snow-covered mountains, and the fall foliage is drifting slowly down to the base of this Rose Bowl here in Pasadena. We are about to bring to you the 11th Super Sunday Super Bowl.
Super Bowl 11 offered a classic conflict. Pro football's two most successful teams in a final struggle for the most treasured victory in the game. Neither the Raiders nor the Vikings had ever won a Super Bowl. But over the last 10 years, they have been the most consistent winners in the National Football League. The Raiders, a team built by Al Davis and coached by John Madden, have won divisional titles in 9 of the last 10 years. The Vikings, coached by Bud Grant, have played in more Super Bowls than any team in history. In the opening minutes of the game, both teams probed and tested one another, piecing together bits of strategy in search of a successful pattern. The contest was a standoff until late in the first quarter, when the Raiders were forced to punt.
One man behind the line of scrimmage on the rush. Here comes the kick. It is blocked. It's blocked by Fred McNeil. It's loose on the 5-yard line. Running after the Minnesota Vikings. They down it on the Raider 2-yard line. First and goal to go. The first big break of the football game. And Wayman Guy has suffered his first block punt in a 4-year pro career.
It was a golden opportunity for Minnesota. But the Vikings, just 1 yard from the goal line, never got there. Brent McClanahan fumbled. Willie Hall, number 39, recovered the ball for Oakland. The Vikings lost the initiative. Now the Raiders would seize it. Oakland launched its counterattack with a play that would be a harbinger of bad times for Minnesota. Clarence Davis ran left for a 35-yard gain. Quarterback Ken Stabler moved the Raiders across midfield with 2 passes to Dave Casper, Oakland's leading receiver in 1976. Casper was once an offensive tackle for Notre Dame. Now, as a tight end, he is the power gear in Oakland's freewheeling pass offense. Casper's second reception put the Raiders in position for the first score of the game.
Field goal, snap, spot, kick on the way. That one's good, and the Raiders finally get on the board. Scoreboard shows Oakland 3, Minnesota nothing.
The Raiders had marched 90 yards in 12 plays. Although they were stopped short of a touchdown, they had moved smartly through every avenue of their game plan. The next time they had the ball, they would take the same road, only this time it would lead them to the land of 6. When the Raiders regained possession of the ball, they continued to run to their left. This strategy succeeded because of Oakland's ability to dominate the right side of the Viking defense, which consists of Alan Page, Jim Marshall, and number 58 corner linebacker Wally Hilgenberg. Guard Gene Upshaw pushed Page to the inside. Tackle Art Shell shoved Marshall to the outside. And when Hilgenberg came up to fill the hole, he was removed by Mark Van Eegen. Clarence Davis, number 28, gained 137 yards in this Super Bowl. 105 of them came on variations of this play. The secret of its success was not only the powerful blocking of Upshaw and Shell, but also the blocking of running back Mark Van Eegen, who neutralized the corner linebacker and gave Davis room to run. Hilgenberg has been a linebacker in the NFL for 13 years, but in spite of his experience and skill, he could not avoid the battering blocks of Van Eegen. During the regular season, Van Eegen had gained twice as much yardage as Davis, but in this Super Bowl, he was more valuable to his team as a blocker. With Van Eegen hitting out on Minnesota's corner linebackers, the other Oakland running backs were able to turn upfield for solid gains. 3 carries by Carl Garrett, number 31, moved the Raiders to the Vikings 6. With Minnesota expecting another run, Stabler surprised them with a perfectly thrown sideline pass to Fred Biletnikoff, who touched down at the 1-yard line. On the next play, the Raiders resumed their attack on Minnesota's right side. But instead of plowing through it, They sailed over it on an easy pass from Ken Stabler to Dave Casper.
Holy Toledo! The Oakland line is just wiping out Minnesota's front.
Already, Bill, on that left side, they're going to Marshall and Hilgenberg, two older players, not very big and seemingly not very strong in the early going.
With 5 minutes to play in the second period, the Raiders marched to their second touchdown. The key play in this drive was a 17-yard pass to Fred Biletnikoff.
Work by the master of his position, Fred Biletnikoff, first and goal on the half-yard line. Here's the power formation right side. Hand off to Banaszak. He powers over. Touchdown Raiders! Joshua Heifetz never played a violin with more dexterity than Kenny Stabler is playing the Minnesota Viking defense this afternoon in the Rose Bowl Stadium in Pasadena.
The Raiders' domination of the first half was reflected not only in the score, but also in the man-to-man matchups that, as much as any one thing, often decide the outcome of a game. A big reason for the success of Oakland's running game was the way Art Shell, number 78, consistently eliminated Jim Marshall. Shell was so overpowering that Marshall did not make a tackle the whole game. Center Dave Dalby engaged middle linebacker Jeff Seaman, number 50, in another matchup that often ended in Oakland's favor. Dalby disrupted Seaman's angle of pursuit. Then shoved him into the backwash of Oakland's churning ground attack. While Dalby and Shell won their battles at the scrimmage line, Fred Biletnikoff was winning another in the open field of the secondary. Nate Wright, number 43, had been given the unenviable task of trying to cover Biletnikoff. As might be expected, he did not fare well. Both of Oakland's touchdowns were set up by passes to Biletnikoff. The most dangerous receiver in Minnesota's passing attack is Sammy White, number 85. White led the NFC with 10 touchdown catches, but Skip Thomas, number 26, guarded White so closely that he did not catch a single pass in the first half. The Raiders used not one man, but 11 to stop Minnesota's mighty running back Chuck Foreman, number 44. Viking fans had hoped to see some of the magic Foreman had displayed all season when he led Minnesota in rushing, receiving, and touchdowns. But today, there was only one moment of magic, and that was this catch and run that gained 26 yards. It was Foreman's only escape from the clutches of John Madden's determined defenders, who permitted him only 42 yards rushing for the entire game. With Foreman unable to run with the ball and White unable to catch it, Minnesota's offense was on the verge of extinction. In the third quarter, the Vikings fell further behind. A Raider field goal made it 19-0. If there was fire in the ashes of the Vikings' hopes, quarterback Fran Tarkington was now the only person who could change the flicker to a flame. Throwing passes on almost every play, Tarkington moved his team 68 yards in 13 plays to their first touchdown of the game. Chuck Foreman and Ahmad Rashad, number 28, made key receptions in the drive. Sammy White made his first catch of the day, and it was good for a touchdown.
Touchdown, Sammy White, and the Vikes are on the board with 47 seconds left to go in the third period.
The touchdown roused the Viking defense. For the first time in the game, Stabler lost yardage.
Big rush, Barry back at the 27-yard line, but he had a pay. The first quarterback sack of the afternoon for the Purple Gang.
As the final period began, Tarkington resumed his passing attack. But this time, the Raiders were ready, and plays that had worked earlier were no good at all now. Without a running attack and needing 2 touchdowns to win, Tarkington had to pass against a defense that had no reason to play him honest. The Raiders' rush, though formidable, posed no unusual problem for Tarkington. The real dangers lurked in the secondary.
Back to pass goes Tarkington. He's going down the middle, and White makes the catch. He is creamed, but holds on to the football, losing the helmet. Chin strap flying one way, helmet the other. Holy Toledo.
With 4 linebackers and 4 defensive backs, the Raiders surrounded and terrorized Tarkington's receivers. Oakland eliminated Tarkington's targets, narrowed his field of fire, and finally proved the undoing of everything he had hoped to accomplish.
Back to pass on third. The rush by Hendricks peels him out of there to the left. He's backpedaling and throwing. Intercepted by Willie Hall at the 30. Back to the 40. Runs into traffic. Raider football. He's brought down at the 46-yard line.
The Raiders now had a choice of 2 plans. They could fence and parry to protect their lead, or they could attack to destroy and demolish. A 48-yard pass to Fred Biletnikoff put the Raiders 2 yards away from a touchdown that would end the competitive phase of Super Bowl 11.
Here's the snap. Give the ball to Banaszak. He powers over. Touchdown, Raiders! From ear to ear, he looks like a slit watermelon.
The Vikings trailed by 19 points and the remaining 7 minutes of the game became a despairing, hopeless quest for a goal they knew they would never reach.
Super Bowl championship.
Francis back to pass. Throw the sideliner. Picked off! It's going to be a touchdown! Willie Brown! 45-40, 35-30, 25-20.
Old man Willie! He's going all the way!
After winning more games than any team in the NFL over the last 14 years, the Raiders proved to the whole world something their fans had known for a long, long time.
Daddy, come here, give me a kiss. Come here. Get it over.
A Super Bowl victory for the Oakland Raiders. A victory won not only for this season, but for seasons past. A victory that set a magnificent crown on the Oakland Raiders' unrivaled 14-year reign as football's winningest team.
This NFL Films production has been brought to you by the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.